we all know the situation with Connor. What are the conversations like? How do you kind of talk to him about trying to make a similar commitment to this team?
I'm gonna be honest. I haven't really talked to Connor about it yet. There comes a time where we talk about it, but there's nothing that I can tell you right now that you want to hear or you need to hear. That's his situation, and he will do what's best for him and his family. And do I want him here forever? Yes, of course. I think everybody does. Yeah, there's not much I can give you there.
Welcome to 32 Thoughts, the podcast presented by the GMC Sierra AT4X. Tom Shermati, Elliotte Friedman, Kyle Bukauskas with you again. Elliotte, around this time of year, there's always that feeling after covering 4 rounds of the playoffs. The fatigue is right there, and the thought of, I'm so tired, I don't understand how the players played and went through all of that over the last 2 months. I didn't have a shift, and I'm wiped. How was the first day back for you after the grind of 4 rounds?
Not too bad, Kyle. I slept a lot more than I normally do. I will say that. But as I often tell people, what I'm doing is not rocket surgery, so it's not that hard.
Yes, that's right. The boyfriend had gathered his things. They got out by the time you got home?
He's gone. He's gone.
Good.
No trace of him. No socks left behind.
Yeah.
Like Desperate Housewives, where they find a sock under the bed.
Right. Oh, good.
And the cleaning lady has to clean with socks because that's the excuse.
That's crazy. I saw that clip online somewhere today.
Did you really?
I was never a Desperate Housewives guy, but that just popped up out of nowhere. So
I didn't. I remember watching an episode once, and that was the episode where the cleaning lady has to clean with socks because they found one under, I think it was Eva Longoria's bed from the guy she was having an affair with. It was pretty funny. Great scene.
Any other day in my life prior to this one, I would not have known what you're talking about, but today of all days.
The sun's aligned. The stars aligned.
That's good. All right, so back in Edmonton, Elliotte, everyone's still coming to grips with what happened in the 6-game defeat to the Florida Panthers and a second straight trip to the Stanley Cup final without a Stanley Cup to lift over their heads. On Thursday, they had their end-of-season availabilities back in Edmonton, and naturally, the majority of the attention went to what was Connor McDavid's thoughts about the series and his future. If you haven't heard, he is eligible to sign an extension in just a few days from now, on July the 1st. Among the things that he said, well, actually, you know what? Why don't we let you hear what he said earlier on Thursday?
Winning would be at the top of the list, and then, winning would be it's the most important thing. If I feel that there's a good window to win here over and over again, then signing is no problem.
So, Kyle, do you want to hear my theory?
Always.
I don't think Connor McDavid is eager to flee northern Alberta. I don't think he's really interested in doing that. I think he's got a good setup there. Him and Draisaitl. You need depth, but you also need superstar talent, and you can't do better than Draisaitl and McDavid to start, right? They like each other. He's got good relationships with a lot of players on that team, and he also sees that they have been to the Stanley Cup final 2 years in a row, and they've lost to an absolute buzzsaw. And so I think he recognizes all of that. I think also, too, he recognizes that before they ran into this multi-year juggernaut from South Florida, they lost the first 2 games of the playoffs to the Kings, and then they went 12-2. And they just didn't beat the Kings, Vegas, and Dallas. They dominated them. Remember what we felt about the Oilers when they beat Vegas? We were like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
Nobody beats Vegas like that. Remember what we felt about the Oilers when they beat Dallas? We were like, holy smokes. Nobody beats Dallas like that, to the point where Dallas imploded internally and they had to make a coaching change that they weren't expecting to make. So I understand McDavid's frustration. Like the thing that stood out to me still about this final, Kyle, is not what McDavid said at all on Thursday. It's what he said after Game 6. That line about trying the same thing over and over again, just banging our heads against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Like to me, that's still as interesting as anything he said on Thursday. Because what it says to me is this is not only a roster thing that McDavid is talking about, but it's also maybe a philosophy in terms of the way they play, or the way they adjust, or the way they put things together. Like, if you look at Edmonton, one of the things they did best in the first 3 rounds was move the puck out of their zone. Statistically, they did that as well as anybody. And then they ran into Florida and they couldn't do it anymore. And, you know, you talked about the Alfredson comments last pod after Game 6. I think that's part of what he's talking about. I think what he's saying is, I'm all in every year, and everybody knows that. I need to make sure that everybody here is all in every year. And I think they are. I have no doubt they are. But I think this is his way of saying, I expect the Oilers to be wired the exact same way I am. Mm-hmm. And you look at it, they gave Skinner another shot. I don't know if they're going to bring in another goalie to go with Skinner or they're going to move on. But one thing I do believe is that they have to end the uncertainty. Like, teams that win the Stanley Cup, you don't have as much turnover or upheaval in net the way Edmonton's had the last 2 years. And I could see McDavid and the organization saying, enough of that. We have to end that one way or the other. Whatever you do, this ends now. So that's number one. Number two, he talked about Bouchard, and he wants to see Bouchard get signed. And I'll say this, one thing Edmonton's very lucky about is the cap is going up now. It's not stagnant anymore, and it gives them a better chance. Look, they've got Draisaitl at 14. McDavid's going to sign for some huge number, which he deserves every penny of. Remember last time, McDavid didn't sign for as much as he could sign for, so I don't expect it to be any different. Like, the maximum he can sign for, I think, is like 19 million. I don't expect him to sign for 19 million. Now, do I still think it'll be a big number? Absolutely. And again, no one's complaining about it. But if history is any indication, he's not going for the max. Bouchard, I could see him being an 8-figure guy easy. And we'll see, what happens around him with Kane, Arvidsson. Connor Brown is a guy who might be looking for some term